Okay.
So maybe there are many people out there who are feeling angry and frustrated because they feel stuck. And what they want is to move forward, but they don't know the solutions and they don't know the responses because we're in a new time and we're in unknown territory. One of the consequences of feeling stuck and frustrated is you feel alone. Many leaders feel they need to have solutions or have answers or have the response, but they don't know what the response is yet. And because they're feeling in this stuck space and not knowing how to respond, or not knowing how to respond confidently, those around them are feeling it. Their team is feeling it. Their superiors, their bosses might be feeling it, relying on them for solutions. The team who reports to them might be feeling it because they need guidance and direction. And so that could be the person that we're speaking to, is how do we find new solutions for this person who really wants to move forward but doesn't know how in these uncertain times.
Yeah. And prior to this conversation that we're now recording, we also have this conversation about being vulnerable and being honest and being open. And my question for both of us is, do we also carry a sense of anger, a sense of frustration, that a bigger system, a larger system has now influenced and impacted us in such a way that we feel frustrated with our own visual, our own view, our own vision for the future? And I think if I could speak for myself, I do have that. I do carry that frustration in me at the moment, not knowing where the future is going. I'm not here in this conversation to pretend that everything is great because I'm a great coach. No, it has also impacted me. So the larger system impacts me, and therefore it makes me perhaps the right person to debate with in order to find solutions that resolve issues for both me and clients. But it starts here. The buck starts here.
Yeah.
And stops here.
So that feels like a really important acknowledgement, and to reframe vulnerability not as a position of weakness or being exposed, but as the capacity to speak truth about what is going on for oneself.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so the truth here is that as coaches, we also feel frustrated and stuck because we don't know how to offer solutions to clients who are feeling frustrated and stuck and perhaps angry in their context too. So perhaps the invitation is to say, well, we're all in this together. We're all trying to find our way forward in this unknown space, and we can't find our way forward coming up with immediate past solutions or knowledge which has worked in the past, because our new terrain is difficult. But however, what we can offer is to say, in our personal lives, we felt very stuck in the past at times when we've been in a strange situation, a new situation, a confusing situation, and we haven't had the skills or the knowledge or the guidance or the mentorship to show us how to get through. But what we found worked was being willing to be truthful about where we are and being willing to find a way to open ourselves, to come back to connect to ourselves first, our hearts, our truth, the places that give us strength. And that created flow again and provided the door, allowed the doors to open for new solutions to come in. And so...
Absolutely, yeah. And absolutely. And I think key to that, to unlock that whole situation, is to say, what are the dynamics of creating safety? You and I both know that in a normal coaching scenario where you go to the client's office or the client comes to your counseling room, that there's an instant rapport and you can build on that rapport because there's personal contact. Yeah. But in an online situation, how do you establish that rapport? How do you establish that safety container for a client to feel, oh, this is someone that I can trust, that I feel an instant resonance with, and that I can share my innermost feelings of frustration and vulnerability.
Sure. And I think what's coming up, Leon, is how do we invite the clients into our house? And rather than how do we go into their house? Because right now, they're on the outside. They're the ones who are outside of the heart, outside of true self. They're the ones who are feeling alone or scared or afraid or angry or frustrated. And they're outside, but our house is open. So what if we said, we'd like to invite you into an open house? You know, we can play with the words on that. But in our house, it's open here, it's safe here, it's connected here, and it's the house of creativity and new solutions. And in this space, we'll find them. So perhaps it's about an invitation to clients to say, we have a house that you would like to be inside. Would you like to come in? It's open here and it's safe and there's love.
Yeah, and I think what we can also share with that is that we have to acknowledge that these are extraordinary circumstances, that it's different, it's challenging times. We've heard that phraseology over and over again. And therefore, it calls a la the terminology, the fourth industrial revolution, that says, indeed, we can create a well-being economy going forward, but it would require a specific attitude or a visual, a viewpoint, a perspective about it. And that would call for a certain level of new innovation, some innovative stuff and frameworks of thinking that has not been explored before. And it will definitely call for collaboration. So I think as coaches, we need to also think out of the box and start embodying the well-being economy space, the fourth industrial revolution thinking, by modeling our own sense of innovation and our sense of collaboration. But before we even get there, it's important that we feel comfortable, as you say, to open our doors, to welcome people in, to model and to embody the sense of accountability, even though it feels like a bigger system has done something to us here that we feel out of control with. We do take accountability for our own movement forward. And with that, we acknowledge that we feel quite vulnerable. And with that, we feel that a certain level of empathy and compassion is required, not only for us for the clients, but also for us as the thought leaders in the process of discovering a new innovative collaboration going forward.
Right. And there's some beautiful words there. I like innovative collaboration because the opportunity in this time is to try out new things, to innovate, to try out what you haven't tried out before, to be pioneers, to be progressive, to take the chances you couldn't take in the past because you were locked into a certain way of doing things. So there's a real opportunity here for business leaders and corporate leaders to take new risks but first one must feel safe. So in order to do things differently, first you need to come into an open house, and then there's tremendous opportunity in times of change for the new to emerge. And if you're at the front of the wave, you can be tremendously successful and influential. So
absolutely, and I think just what you triggered in my thinking is, you know, in the past when we invite people for play workshops, there's always this emphasis on what can you show us as your innovative thinking, and we would separate people out in singular little play heaps where they take their pieces of paper and they create a vision board or whatever. What comes to mind now is that perhaps the new wave is about putting teams together and creating collective vision boards about what would the future look like. So that there is this embodiment of collaboration and innovation at the same time, just as a practical example.
So the components there are to the team comes together, the team revisions itself, the team thinks, the team connects, and then creates a new direction. And as the coach, you can facilitate that process for the team to come together, to revision and to create new direction in this time, and to start moving forward again.
Bruce, I feel quite excited with the flow of our dialogue, and I think what we can do as a proposal is, this just came spontaneously, so perhaps what we can do is keep this short, respectful to the time that people will devote to this. I feel very honored if people can give us some feedback on just the flow of our conversation and how we can actually make it more relevant and more applicable to what people feel and sense at the moment. But maybe a good suggestion, I don't know if you agree, is that we follow up on this and we kind of build a sequence or chapters in the direction that we started with, and to just spontaneously share that, to show who we are as coaches and how we think, and that we're also human, but that we're excited about a new direction, a new potential going forward.
Yeah. I think that, to summarize what's emerged, is that we need a direction to go forward. People need a direction to go forward, and they have to envision the direction themselves, because it won't be provided from an external source, because no one actually knows what's going on.
Yes.
And so what we can do is we can help them connect to what would feel like a safe and true vision inside, and then some practical steps to start to embody that.
That sounds great. And just to contextualize a little bit deeper, just for a moment, maybe we overextend the time that we agreed to, but I think contextualization is quite relevant here. Before we connected, I looked at the news, and it's quite interesting that people have taken control from the so-called feeling of victimhood, that this is done to us by government. People have taken control. They took government to court, and they won the case. That this was actually unconstitutional. So maybe we shouldn't say getting trapped into who was right and who was wrong, but maybe look at it as an archetypal moment where people actually feel a sense of accountability and responsibility, and take control of the way forward. And I think our timing with this, with opening up, as you call it, the castle doors, and inviting people in, is quite good in that sense, because we are inviting people on a new road of self-accountability, self-destination. I think it's an important moment in the movement or the momentum of what has happened.
Yeah, you've got the power inside yourself. You can take it back, and you can sail your own ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And on that note, shall we close it for now?
Sure. Okay, cool.
Or do you want to add anything else?